Welcome to your Barbados Today Evening News Update for Tuesday, September 3rd. Thanks for joining us. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. Over 24 former Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation employees today charged that their pensions are being unfairly withheld. At a meeting at the Queen's Park gazebo on Tuesday morning, veteran journalist and a former news editor Peter Thorne, who spoke on behalf of the workers, said that they have been locked in a 6-month saga over the monies after being told by senior human resource officials that they would have to wait until age 60 to recoup the funds. Thorne insisted this was a violation of the Occupational Pension Benefits Act, which mandates that at age 55, workers could claim their pension once they have worked for 3 years or 1,000 hours at the company.
Over 24 former CBC workers who were retrenched late last year are extremely troubled about a situation which has left them waiting over 6 months for thousands of dollars in pension payments owed to them. Their patience has run thin, and today they met right here in Queen's Park where they vented their frustration.
Is that since June 1st, 2019, CBC has been illegally withholding our pensions and gratuities, even though we have expressed a written desire to receive our monies and first served notice to them on February 5th, 2019, over 7 months ago, which is more than adequate notice. Furthermore, CBC has not instructed ICBL to pay the workers their monies, even though the law of Barbados, namely the Occupational Pension Benefits Act, is clear on the matter that at age 55, once you have met the eligibility criteria of working 3 years or 1,000 hours at a company, you can do so whether you are a member or deferred member. So we are contending that CBC, ICBL, the Financial Services Commission, and government have a legal, moral, and fiduciary responsibility to resolve this matter like yesterday, affirming the workers' rights to their monies justly under the laws of Barbados, and especially the Occupational Pension Benefits Act 2003, Cap 350B.
24 hours after Prime Minister Mia Mottley pledged that her government would lend assistance to the Bahamas, Barbados' ambassador and international pop star Rihanna today announced that she would be providing help to the affected island. Rihanna, who said she was heartbroken by the catastrophic damage inflicted by Hurricane Dorian, tweeted that her charity, the Clara Lionel Foundation, was already trying to figure out how best to help. She said she was praying for the island, where 5 people have been confirmed dead so far, and some 13,000 houses have been destroyed. Meanwhile, the Barbados Defense Force is mobilizing a team to travel to the Bahamas, but in the meantime, it's calling on Barbadians to give generously to the relief effort. Chief of Staff Colonel Glyne Granham says that while the BDF is not yet ready to start warehousing relief supplies, it has started to compile a catalogue of items it may be asked to ship. He explained that this would allow the Barbados Coast Guard to plan for the most efficient method of moving the supplies given the distance between Barbados and the Bahamas. As Barbados and its Caribbean neighbors map out their response to the Bahamas, the United Nations Population Fund and the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency today strengthened their partnership to help the region better respond to natural disasters. The two entities signed a memorandum of understanding to share more information and best practices, training and joint operations, among other things. UNFPA Sub-Regional Director for the Caribbean, Alison Drayton, says they will be working closely with SEDEMA to assist affected islands in the Bahamas.
Over the past few days, we have been working very closely with SEDEMA on Dorian. I think we've seen you every day, basically, including on the weekends, as well as working very closely with OCHA, the Humanitarian Assistance Department of the UN, out of the Jamaica office, which is also coordinating on their end in terms of the UN response. As the global lead for the UN in GBV and emergencies, we are ready to support SEDEMA in the coordination and collaboration on GBV prevention and response as part of the collective response to Dorian. Where needed, we will swiftly deploy search personnel to conduct health, GBV, and shelter assessments for rapid response, as well as for longer-term coordination and technical assistance on the ground. When Dorian disappears out of the press, it does not mean that the work stops, as Ron can all too sadly testify. We're ready to distribute dignity kits to affected women and girls in collaboration with the Ministry of Social Services, and reproductive health kits in collaboration with the Ministry of Health in the Bahamas.
CDMA's Executive Director Ronald Jackson says the partnership is a critical part of building resilient countries.
It's going to be looking at ranging from technical capacity building, in the form of training, increasing the knowledge and understanding of these issues related to gender-based violence and how we deal with gender as a whole within the Caribbean context. Financing where possible, equipment, relief resources, etc. A bit of advocacy, because I think we have to team up on some of the issues that we think require attention at national level on risk, looking at gender and looking at issues of gender-based violence and how we deal with women and girls in these conditions. So that's what it means to us, certainly. So exchange of information, data, and how we use data for decision making, among the other things we talked about.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To the region now, Bahamian Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis today got a first-hand look at the devastation in northern Bahamas. The Prime Minister, Minister of Health Dr. Dwayne Sands, Minister of Public Works Desmond Bannister, Opposition Leader Phillips Brave Davis, along with other government officials and U.S. Charge d'Affaires Stephanie Bowers, boarded a United States Coast Guard aircraft to conduct a flyover of Abaco, though a tropical storm warning remained in effect for that island. The signs of utter destruction were evident. Some communities were under flood waters and houses, buildings, trees have been flattened. It's estimated that 13,000 houses on Abaco have been destroyed. So far, 5 people have been confirmed dead and another 21 were injured. Prime Minister Minnis is expected to address the nation later tonight. On the international front in Britain, Troy rebels and opposition MPs have defeated the government in the first stage of their attempt to pass a law designed to prevent a no-Brexit deal. In response, Prime Minister Boris Johnson said he would bring forward a motion for an early general election. More in this report from Reuters Television.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson on Monday ruled out ever asking the European Union to delay Brexit, making an implicit warning that he would be forced to call a general election if his hands were tied by Parliament.
I want everybody to know there are no circumstances in which I will ask Brussels to delay. We're leaving on the 31st of October, no ifs or buts.
An alliance of opposition lawmakers and rebels from within Johnson's own Conservatives are seeking to take control of Parliament in order to pass legislation that would force Johnson to seek a 3-month delay to prevent a no-deal Brexit. Speaking over the sound of protesters shouting "Stop the coup," Johnson said that such a delay would chop the legs out from under the UK's negotiating position.
Let's let our negotiators get on with their work without that sword of Damocles over their necks.
A senior government source said on Monday that Johnson will move to call an election on October the 14th if he's defeated in Parliament.
We need a general election.
Opposition leader Jeremy Corbyn certainly wants one.
An election is the democratic way forward. to give the people the choice between the two very different directions of our country.
But there are suggestions that the veteran socialist could be playing into Johnson's hands. Former Labour Prime Minister Tony Blair says Johnson may be trying to use the divisive prospect of a Corbyn leadership to his advantage.
Boris Johnson knows that if no deal Brexit stands on its own as a proposition, it might well fail.
And that's news, but for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. Good evening.